A lot of big name quarterbacks have been making your fantasy playoffs absolutely unbearable. Let's shake things up a little bit here, week 16. What's going on, everybody? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Welcome to week 16 fantasy football season, the fantasy football championship for a lot of you out there. Maybe your championship is next week. That's fine. I'll be doing videos next week to help you out. Also, going to make sure I'm here all season for you, and we're not stopping. Once the season is over, we're going year-round. Football year-round. What else is better than talking football 12 months out of the year? Yep, it's going to happen. I'll be at the Combine, try to get to the draft, the Fantasy Football Convention in Texas. Lots of things going on in 2019. Really looking forward to it. But for right now, I kind of switched things up for the rankings here. It's week 16. It's a hashtag critical week, right? Let's try to find some safe plays because we've been trying to shoot for the stars here the past few weeks, and everybody's fallen short, and it's really hurting us. Let's see if we can go out there and find some solid plays here for week 16 to carry us to a fantasy championship or into the finals. All right, we have a new number one this week, and who is it going to be? Russell Wilson of the Seattle Seahawks. He's been playing great. He did have a bad game there, week 14. It's understandable against a tough Minnesota defense. He's had multiple touchdown passes 9 out of the last 10 weeks. Definitely somebody who's been very, very consistent since about week 5. And that's what we're looking for right now is some consistency. That and a great matchup. They're going to be playing at home. That's a plus. Against the Kansas City Chiefs, the 29th ranked defense against opposing quarterbacks. Another plus. Giving up on average just under 25 points a game. They've allowed multiple touchdown passes 4 straight weeks. Can't call anything a slam dunk home run. Can't miss anymore. But Russell Wilson is a very safe play in my opinion with high upside. I got him as my quarterback 1 here in week 16. Not a big fall down the rankings for Patrick Mahomes. He's right here at number 2. And a lot of people have been disappointed with his performances as of late, but they really haven't been bad. He's still been averaging 300 yards and 2 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. It's just not what we were seeing earlier in the year when he was getting up in there in the 3s and 400 yards, 4, 5, 6 touchdown passes a game. He's having more realistic numbers, and people are kind of freaking out. Don't freak out. He's still a very safe play in one of the best offenses in all of football. A little bit more of a difficult matchup this week. The Seahawks right now 11th against opposing quarterbacks, have only allowed 1 passing touchdown over the past 2 weeks in each game. 1 last week to San Francisco, 1 the week prior to Minnesota. They're playing a lot better on the defensive side of the football in Seattle. But it's Patrick Mahomes against the Kansas City Chiefs offense. He can put up points and put them up quickly. He's been consistent. Matchup doesn't scare me. Patrick Mahomes is going to be quarterback number 2 this week. All right, number 3, where things start to take a little bit of a turn here. It's going to be Deshaun Watson of the Houston Texans. He's been playing great football as of late. He hasn't thrown an interception since week 11. He's been averaging over 20-plus fantasy points over his last 4 games. Definitely a solid play. And it's a great matchup. Yes, it's on the road in Philadelphia, which is not ideal, but that Philadelphia defense struggles stopping the pass unless you're Jared Goff, and then they have a tendency to contain him. But outside of that, it's a great matchup for Deshaun Watson. They're averaging, the Eagles are giving up right around 21 points per game to opposing quarterbacks. Another one of those safe floors, safe plays. He's averaging over 20 points a game on the season. Great matchup. Somebody who I would feel comfortable starting here in week 16. All right, number 4 may be a surprise to a lot of people. It's Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. Don't shut the video off just yet. Hear me out. Yes, last week, horrible week for Dak Prescott. Horrible week for the Cowboys in general. They just did not play good. He only had 206 yards passing, no touchdowns, 1 interception. And he has had 3 interceptions over the past 2 weeks. However, before that, he's really been one of the top-performing quarterbacks here in the second half of the season. He's actually one of those guys that has that rushing upside also. He has 5 rushing touchdowns so far on the season, none in the last 3 weeks, but it's definitely something that they have in the game plan that they could use at any given time. One of those times could be this weekend against one of the worst defenses against opposing quarterbacks, the Tampa Bay Bucks, giving up just about 25 points per game on average. They've been playing a little bit better over the past couple weeks, but it's really more bad quarterback play that's making their numbers look better than what they really are. Dak Prescott is a great start and a great matchup. He's now got Amari Cooper to really help boost his stats and help open up that field. It's making Zeke, what we all thought he would be in the preseason. Love Dak Prescott. He's going to be QB4 this week. Maybe an even a bigger shock, number 5, Baker Mayfield of the Cleveland Browns. Yes, I know. A lot of people still don't like Baker, but he's played great football down the stretch. Wasn't his best game of the season last week. He did have 188 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also had 2 turnovers with an interception and a fumble. But overall has been pretty good protecting the ball and putting up some solid fantasy points. Right now he's averaging just about 20 fantasy points a game over his last 4 games. Definitely one of these solid play type guys in a great matchup. Remember, I said it at the beginning of the show. We're looking for some safety here. We don't need the quarterback to go out and score 80. We just want to make sure we get a solid 20 to 25 in there and give us that chance to win. Baker Mayfield has that chance. He faced this same Cincinnati defense a few weeks back in Week 12, threw for 258 yards and 4 touchdowns. Now he gets them again at home. Great matchup, 32nd against opposing quarterbacks, giving up over 25 points per game. Love some Baker Mayfield this week. I got him all the way up at number 5. Number 6 is going to be Big Ben of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he may actually be a little bit higher on this list if you wanted to look at just the stats. Stat-wise, it looks like it's a great matchup for him against the New Orleans Saints. The problem is the inefficiencies in the Saints earlier in the season are kind of making up the difference for these statistical numbers. Right now, they show they're the 26th best defense against opposing quarterbacks. However, if you go back and look at the stats, they've only allowed one quarterback to throw for over 300 yards since Week 9. Definitely a solid defense in New Orleans. Big Ben has the weapons, though. Juju and AB can take the top off a defense in one play. It's a great matchup in a game that could be high scoring. I've said that for a few weeks, and the Saints just quit scoring. They're going to have to figure that out. If they want to make a postseason run, that offense needs to be clicking. Yes, they've already clinched. However, I don't expect them just to come out here and lie down end of the season. Could still be a great game. Big Ben is somebody who, like I said, has that ability to put up huge numbers due to the playmakers he has. He could get James Conner back this week. They still have Jalen Samuels, who's been productive for them while Conner's been out. Not a bad play. Like Big Ben, he's a solid QB6 for me this week. Number 7 is going to be another one of these guys who's been a little bit inconsistent here the past few weeks. Andrew Luck of the Indianapolis Colts. He only has 2 touchdown passes over his last 3 games to go along with 2 interceptions. But this is the same Andrew Luck who had 3+ touchdown passes all the way from weeks 4 through weeks 12. Definitely a solid play in an offense where they're going to throw the ball a lot. Going up against the New York Giants, giving up on average right around 19 fantasy points per game. But we know that Luck is going to throw the ball all game long. It's just part of their offense. It's going to be something where Luck may not have that crazy high ceiling this week. But like I said earlier, we're looking for the safer plays. Get us 20 fantasy points this week, and a lot of us are going to be happy out of our quarterback. I see that in Andrew Luck. I got him as QB7 here in Week 16. Number 8 is going to be Kirk Cousins of the Minnesota Vikings, coming off a decent game this past week against Miami. 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. They didn't really need him to throw a whole lot. They were running successfully, and they had a great lead in that game. However, this week, they get the Detroit Lions on the road in Detroit, which is a little bit tougher of a matchup. Detroit still is giving up right around 21 fantasy points per game. It's going to be another one of those solid starts for Kirk Cousins. The change in offensive coordinator seems to have kind of revitalized this offense a little bit. He's got playmakers everywhere. We know Diggs and Thielen and Cook are able to take a 5-yard screen pass and take it the distance. He has the playmakers. He has a solid offense going up against a decent defense for him to put up some solid fantasy numbers against. I don't have any issues really with Kirk Cousins this week. That's why I got him at QB8. All right, number 9 is who really a lot of people are mad at right now, and it's Drew Brees of the New Orleans Saints. He's had single-digit fantasy points 2 out of the last 3 weeks, which is just weird. I mean, to begin the season, he was all the way up in the top 5 quarterbacks. Recently, though, he's nowhere to be found. That whole New Orleans Saints offense really isn't anywhere to be found. They're going to have to fix that, though. They're not going to go anywhere in the playoffs if they don't figure out what's wrong on the offense and get that passing game going once again. They really need to get Mark Ingram back involved in the game plan because that run game will open up the passing game for Drew Brees. It's a great matchup for him, though. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the 23rd ranked defense against opposing quarterbacks, giving up right around 22 fantasy points a game. They've allowed multiple touchdown passes 3 out of their last 4 games, and they're another team that can score. This could turn into an offensive battle back and forth, in a blink of an eye. Drew Brees is still capable of putting up big numbers. I just can't throw him up there in the top 5 anymore. I got him at QB9 this week. Number 10 is going to be the hashtag MitchMagic of the Chicago Bears. And he had another solid week last week, 235 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Now he gets a better matchup against the San Francisco 49ers, who are giving up on average over 23 points per game to opposing quarterbacks. Over the last 4 weeks, they've allowed 9 passing touchdowns. Definitely a great matchup for MitchMagic this week. He's somebody who I would have no issues throwing in my lineup. Maybe doesn't have that huge ceiling this week, but like I said, another one of these safer plays that can go out there and get you an easy 20, hopefully carry in the championship. This week, got him at QB 10. Number 11 is going to be Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons. And realistically, by week's end, he could be a couple spots higher in these rankings. Only reason he's not right now, we don't know which defense shows up for Carolina. They're really not the greatest defense. Right now, they're ranked 25th against opposing quarterbacks. However, they really held Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints in check for the most part on Monday Night Football last week. We don't know which one shows up. Matt Ryan has weapons. Tevin Coleman started to emerge in the run game last week, but that was against the Arizona Cardinals, one of the worst run defenses in all of football. This matchup, though, right now, the Panthers are giving up on average right about 23 points per game to opposing quarterbacks. However, over the last 2 games have only allowed 1 passing touchdown. Like I said, that defense is somewhat hit or miss. How do you catch this defense? Are they going to give up? Are they a little bit demoralized after losing that game on Monday Night Football? Does Cam play? There's a lot of different questions surrounding the Panthers that could really affect the performance of Matt Ryan. I still like him. He's still a solid play this week. But as of right now, QB 11. Number 12 is going to be Aaron Rodgers, and it's really weird to say number 12, Aaron Rodgers, because typically he's towards the top of these lists for seasons, all season long. Right now, though, he just doesn't deserve it. Only has 1 game over 20 fantasy points out of his last 4. Definitely been struggling. Last week against Chicago, threw for 274 yards, no touchdowns. That's the big disappointing, stat for Aaron Rodgers right there is the touchdowns aren't there like they normally are. However, this is a great matchup. He does get the 19th ranked defense against opposing quarterbacks in the New York Jets, giving up on average 21 points per game. Last week against Houston, gave up 294 and 2 touchdowns to Deshaun Watson. Definitely one of these opportunities for Aaron Rodgers to go out there. However, there were these rumors going around they could shut him down and not let him play. However, I don't see that. Aaron Rodgers is going to finish the season. Unless he's injured and just can't do it, he's going to be the starting quarterback of the Packers from here on out, at least for the next 2 weeks. After that, you never know what's going to happen in the National Football League. But as for this week, I have him as QB 12 because he still has that safe floor with high upside. Number 13 is going to be Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. This kid is really fun to watch. It's really exciting. I think a lot of people didn't think Josh Allen was capable of putting up the numbers he's putting up. Now, are these blow you out of the water numbers? No, not really. But consider the weapons and the offense surrounding him. He's doing a great job in Buffalo. If this kid can get some weapons, he could be scary dangerous in the future. Last week against Detroit, 204 yards through the air, 1 touchdown passing, add another 9 scrambles for 16 yards. Now has a rushing touchdown 3 out of the last 4 games. And he gets the New England Patriots, who are on average giving up 22.5 points to opposing quarterbacks. Not a whole lot of offensive weapons for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen will be somebody who tries to take over the game all by himself if he can. Heck, he's basically the running back also at this point because everybody else is injured. I do like Josh Allen. He's slightly risky, but he has the safe floor due to his rushing upside, and he has a crazy high ceiling if he can put together a solid game and get some plays out of his playmakers. Right now, QB number 13 for me here this week. Number 14 is going to be Jared Goff, and the only reason he's really in the top 15, to be completely honest, is because I believe in Sean McVay figuring out what's going on in this offense and fixing it. Over the last 3 weeks, Jared Goff has been lucky to get single-digit fantasy points. Last week against the Philadelphia Eagles, threw for 339 yards, not bad. However, no touchdowns for the second straight game. That's alarming for one of the top offenses in all of football. He only has 1 touchdown pass in his last 3 games, and it's a difficult matchup on paper. The Arizona Cardinals are the 6th-rated defense against opposing quarterbacks, giving up on average right around 18 points a game. However, towards the second half of the season here, they really started to slip down the rankings. This defense is not what it was to start the season. They're still solid. Patrick Peterson is a great defensive player, trying to take away the opponent's number 1. But outside of that, they're vulnerable through the air. Jared Goff needs to get this offense going, and I believe in Sean McVay. I don't have him overly high, but I still have him as QB 14. Number 15 is going to be Jameis Winston of the Tampa Bay Bucks, somebody who'd been playing pretty well up until last week when he met a tough Baltimore defense, only threw for 157 and no touchdowns. Before that, though, he had 4 straight games with multiple touchdown passes and was playing really well. Not much of a run game in Tampa Bay. We know they're going to throw it a lot, and it's an easier matchup this week than they had last week. They're going to be going to Dallas, facing the Cowboys, who are giving up on average 18 points to opposing quarterbacks. However, last week against the Colts, we saw them basically shut down Andrew Luck for the most part. Only 192 yards, no touchdowns. However, before that, they'd allowed multiple touchdown passes in 4 out of 6 games. Still a great matchup, and a team that's going to throw a lot. The only thing that worries me is the turnovers are always there for Jameis Winston, and it's possible they're there again. I do have a couple names that were in the running for this last and 15th spot, and I won't be surprised that by week's end, one of these guys' names don't make it into this list. Just so you guys have those names who are like the first out or the on the bubble guys. We have Phillip Rivers. Tough matchup, but it's Phillip Rivers, and he's been one of the most consistent quarterbacks all year long. Lamar Jackson. I'm not touching Cam. I'm just not. Anybody who wants to ask about Cam, there's something seriously wrong with that shoulder, and I don't trust it at all at this point. And then Tom Brady. I know he hasn't been somebody who's been overly effective as of late, but he always has that opportunity and possibility on another team that really needs to get that offense kickstarted. Those are guys that were getting close. Like I said, Cam was not that close. Something seriously wrong with that shoulder. They just haven't reported it yet. But those were all of my quarterbacks here, at least my top 15 quarterbacks here for Week 16. Hopefully that was able to help you set your lineups. Have any other questions, hit them up down below. Still going to be doing a live show on Saturday. Stay tuned for that. Hoping to get that set up for you guys. I'm looking forward to talking to you. Hopefully everybody's having a great week. Good luck in your fantasy football playoffs or championships, whichever it is you are in. And I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Have a good one.